I'm John Stokes. I'm Director of the Natural Areas Department. We have a brief program for you tonight, and I'm here to get things rolling. Before I do that, what I'd like to say to all of you what an honor it is for me and my colleagues here at the City of Fort Collins to work on this program, the Natural Areas Program. There's no doubt that we have one of the best municipal natural area programs in the world, and I mean that, in the world. It's really just a phenomenal thing to be able to live and work in a community that so strongly supports this work, and so thank you. Thank you for your support, and thank you for the privilege of doing this work. What we're going to do first is we're going to have a very short video, and then the mayor will be speaking, and then the Mayor Pro Tem, Kelly Olson, will be speaking. So why don't we roll the video? It's about 3.5 minutes long.
The plan pulls together a lot of ideas that have been expressed by the community at various times and in various ways. It is a comprehensive approach for dealing with some of our most special areas.
The money could be used to fund areas identified in a Natural Areas Plan to be adopted by City Council in September.
The plan is useless unless there's some money to implement it.
It's very pro-business, pro-development, pro-citizen, and pro-environment. It all fits. They all come together as one.
This means more recreational opportunities, more scenic views, more wildlife habitat, and a better quality of life for all citizens.
We have a marvelous array of river areas, prairie areas, all sorts of birds. It's just always an exciting thing to get into a natural area and then see what's going on that time of year. Go to the same place all the different months and you'll find life going on that you wouldn't have dreamed of.
I come and enjoy the natural areas all the time. It's one of my favorite things to do. Get outside, go have some fun.
I love hiking. I love just being outside and enjoying the outdoors.
We love the natural areas.
I think the fishing here in the natural areas is great because you're just so close to town, but it feels like you're just alone.
Out on the river by yourself, right?
Mm-hmm.
I hope the next 20 years is as successful as this first 20 years because Fort Collins has one of the best trail systems I've ever experienced in this country.
This area is very close to where we live, so it's convenient for us to bring our dog here. Not a lot of people on the trails, and so we appreciate that about it. Also, the types of wildlife and especially the birds that we see.
What we like about the natural areas is they're free, first of all, and it's a beautiful place to go. Last time we were here, we caught a 21-inch trout, so that was pretty awesome.
Happy anniversary, Natural Area!
Happy anniversary, Natural Areas!
Happy anniversary, Natural Areas!
Next is Mayor Karen Wyckonen. Please welcome the mayor.
That was wonderful. Does Fort Collins know how to celebrate and have an anniversary? Yeah. And we know this is what makes Fort Collins great. It's people, it's ideas, it's planning, it's natural areas. Thank you all very much. This is just wonderful. I get to propose a toast this evening to the natural areas, except I don't have anything. Well, toast. You may do it for me. 20 years of accomplishments. How do you sum it up? Each one of us values natural areas in our own way for our own reasons, and each of us contributes in some way to its success. In the spirit of celebration, let's toast to some important elements. Let's celebrate the sites themselves. Places like Bobcat Ridge, my most favorite place, Soapstone Prairie, and River's Edge natural areas. Places that are large and small, but all filled with natural treasures. Things that wildlife, plants, natural sounds, clean air, and views. The sights of the beautiful wildflowers. The sounds of the chirping birds, and even out bugling in the background. The wind blowing softly through your hair and the trees. Let's celebrate the people that care about natural areas and make conservation possible. Everyone, from those of you that proposed the sales tax ballot measures and voted yes in support, and those who just simply go out and enjoy our trails. It takes an entire community's support to make 20 years of natural areas possible. Thank you for your contributions, whatever it is, in 20 years of natural areas. I think we can celebrate that. Tonight we celebrate the many things that people and the nature have done together in this community. Happy anniversary. And now I have the privilege of introducing our keynote speaker tonight, Kelly Olson. Without him, we would not be celebrating 20 years of natural areas today. Kelly's a longtime resident of Fort Collins and has lived here since 1973. He served 3 terms on the city council, and currently he serves as my mayor pro tem. Kelly has worked for open space and natural areas protection for over 30 years in Fort Collins and Larimer County. He was key to proposing and passing each of the ballot measures that fund natural areas. He was involved in 6 ballot measures in 10 years. That's really quite an accomplishment and certainly emphasizes his passion for what he believes in. Thank you, Kelly. Let me share several other accolades that helped to define Kelly and his passion. He received the eTowns National E-Achievement Award for decades of work for open space and natural areas. He received the Colorado Conservation Voters First Larimer County Conservation of the Year Award. He's worked on 7 open space ballot measures. Received the Colorado Recycling Association's Colorado Recycler of the Year Award for 30 years of recycling work. Kelly, that's truly remarkable and astounding, and thank you. Our community is grateful for your hard work, your passion, and your dedication to making the environment and our natural areas a valuable legacy and an integral part of Fort Collins community. Please help me in welcoming our keynote speaker, Mayor Pro Tem Kelly Olson.
All for Clint. So thank you, Mayor, for your very kind words. I really appreciate it. It means a lot to me. And thank you to the city organization for asking me to make some comments tonight. They asked me to keep it to only 12 minutes, and then I knew that was their way of getting back at me for the last 8 years on the city council. My first attempt at it was 47 minutes long. And I'm now down to close to 12. So never did I imagine 30 years ago to look out and see a crowd like this here tonight. It just didn't even cross my mind that this would be possible. And so it's a very special evening. I'm not going to talk about the value and the importance of open space this evening because you all know what that is. They're many and they're varied, and you all have your own. What I'm going to talk about is a little of the history tonight, and also some of the lessons that we've learned from this. And by the way, in that video clip, if there was ever an example of if you do 6 open space campaigns in a 10-year period, you age in coyote years. And that was just another way of getting even with me. And I'm not sure I was happy about it, but that's okay. So they say that history is written by those that hang heroes, and Voltaire wrote that history is the lie that everyone agrees to. And so there's a kind of a history around the open space movement in Fort Collins and Larimer County, and there's a lot of myths around that, so I'd like to touch on that one tonight. Prior to 1992, we're celebrating the 20th anniversary tonight. Yes, it's true that there were people that cared, there were visionaries, there were some actions taken, there were some plans by individuals in the city of Fort Collins. And there was an open space plan adopted in 1974. There are some land purchased and there were some trails built. But there is one simple truth, that from 1900 to 1993, around 1,000 acres had been purchased by the city of Fort Collins for a variety of reasons related to open space. And now, since 1993, we've added in excess of around 45,000 acres, and in Larimer County and Fort Collins combined, because I'll touch on all the ballot measures this evening briefly, it's over 70,000 acres that have been protected. Open space and natural areas were not understood 20 and 30 years ago. There have always been supporters, both elected and regular citizens, but they were not understood, they were not appreciated, and they were actively opposed. So I'd like to go back briefly to 1985. When I served on a council, that a majority of that council put on a ballot measure, a referendum, to protect the corridor from east to west, protecting Fort Collins and Loveland open space in there. And it was a city ballot. And we had lots of opposition and lots of money spent against us, and we were crushed 60-40. We lost overwhelmingly. And in fact, if we had succeeded, we would have been able to buy 5 times the land at 1/3 the price. But some of us hung in there, but that's a little of the history that's important for people to know, because if you look around here tonight, you'd think that everybody was always for open space, all elected officials, the whole town, the whole area, and it's not true, and that to me just adds to the celebration tonight. In fact, the detractors labeled the corridor Olson's Greenbelt. So somewhere, I still have it. I went out and bought a green belt at that time, which wasn't easy to find. And no, it doesn't even come close to getting on. But it does fit around one thigh. But the history has been sweet, but now we move forward to 1992. And the council adopted, at that time, a natural areas plan in October of 1992. And to give you some perspective of where we've come from that, the council on a split vote debated, do we fund $100,000 for the next year, 1 year only, or $200,000 for open space? And there was a very strong debate, and on a split vote, I believe they passed the $200,000 mark for 1 year. And even though that sounds like a lot of money, when you figure that the city currently takes in, and believe me, we need every penny, and there's not an extra dime, somewhere in the neighborhood of $9 million a year, it wasn't quite going to get that done. So we go forward to November of 1992, and there were some students at CSU that had worked on that plan. Some students, Professor Rick Knight. Rick, where are you here tonight? Back there. Grady Candler called me. He was a student, an undergrad student, and said he thought they should do a ballot, we should do a ballot measure on open space. And I said I was all full up. I was involved in a lot of campaigns, including a presidential campaign, and that I didn't have time. And then Grady had to leave, and then he passed the baton to Carl Nyland. Carl's in the back there with Rick. Hi, Carl. He'll get abused more later. And so I hit it off with Carl, and in spite of the fact that we had a lot going on, we called a meeting at my house. There were 15 people there to see if we should go ahead with an election, and you'll see why this matters in a bit. We took a vote at the end because it was very late in the election cycle, and some things I'll touch on in a minute on what was on the ballot, and everybody was involved, and we planned on 1993 ballot measure, and we just didn't have the time to pull it off. So we took a vote. The vote was 12-3 not to do the election, and the 3s won. It was a Lincoln moment at the time. That's what Lincoln had said. The three, who was it? Yes, the threes won. And the 3 votes were David Roy, myself, and his 10-year-old daughter to go ahead with the ballot measure. Now, you need to put this in perspective of 1992. It is the most famous and largest election in the last 50 years in the state of Colorado. It not only was a presidential race, there were 15 state measures on the ballot. There was a state sales tax on education led by my boss at the time, Governor Roy Romer. There was a county health care sales tax on the ballot. There was a zoo city sales tax in the city of Fort Collins masquerading as an open space tax. And so there were, some remember that. GOCO was on the ballot, and so was, nice timing for a tax measure, the Bruce Tabor anti-tax measure was on the same ballot. So we decided to go ahead anyway, and it was a motley little crew of folks. It was very few folks. The ballot language started with John Gascoigne and Carl and Tom Shoemaker and myself and some others that I'll get to these guys in a bit. And the ballot language was kind of written originally on a napkin, and it was finalized when I was in New York, and we were tying up Bill Clinton's fax machine, writing back and forth, because he was about to be nominated for president, and they were getting a little irritated that Fort Collins people were tying up his fax machine in Madison Square Garden. So we managed to get it on the ballot. There was almost no support anywhere that we could tell. We gathered just enough signatures. I think we had 8 extra signatures to get it on the ballot. It was an initiative. And 2 months out, the county clerk rules that the ballot is full and you're not going to be allowed on the ballot. Now, this is not good if any of you know me. So we go through the whole process. We write the ballot language. We get the signatures. We get it on the ballot. We filed all the papers and wasn't a fan of open space and decided the ballot was full. We did have a happy ending. We ended up getting placed on the ballot, and the rest is history, even though we had everything going against us. The tough ballot, little money, very few people able to work on it, and we did pass, and as that video showed, we were the only tax measure of any of the tax measures that passed in 1992, and that's the 20th anniversary. That's the tax that created this program that we're celebrating here this evening. So lesson number 1, if this is still working, my Oprah thing, if this is lesson number 1, if you're not on the ballot, you've lost for sure. So we decided to go for it, and we did. Now I'm going to quickly go through the other ballot measures because there will be lessons there. In 1994, we worked with the county commission and we put a referendum on the ballot. We had strong opposition again. Many of you in the room even find this hard to believe now that we're in here. Very strong opposition, very well funded, full color page ads in the newspaper, etc. And we were defeated in 1994 for that county tax. Then we came back in 1995 and did a citizen initiative and won overwhelmingly. Then we went to 1997 and we did a city referendum continuing the 92 tax. That didn't turn out so well with the city, so I'll get back to that in a moment. Then we moved to 1999 on the county tax. We renewed, extended, and bonded it through a citizen initiative. Then in about 2001, after the 97 tax had lowered the amount of the 92 tax for the city council at that time was discussing then going to 1/10 of a cent for 4 years. So what do good open space activists do? They go outside the city hall. Glenn Colton, Randy Fisher, Linda Stanley, and some others in the room that night when we caught wind of what council was doing. So like sane activists do, we said, we'll take a ballot measure 3 years early, and instead of 1/10 of a cent for 4 years, we'll do 2.5 times that for 25 years, and that's what you all did. So the lesson from that is never do a referendum with elected officials. Always do a citizen initiative by gathering the signatures. The 3 referendums didn't go well, and the 4 citizen initiatives where you gather thousands of signatures are the ones that were successful. So that's the lesson, and that's what these banners, and that's what the people are, and we're going to honor everybody in a bit with another of those lessons. But most elections that I want to leave you with had huge opposition, including elected officials and special interest groups, the media, newspapers. They weren't universally loved like they are today by the vast majority of people. It's one of the highest ranked aspects of city and county government when they do their surveys are the open space program. So what are the few of the other lessons that I've learned from all of this? The change of any type requires courage, and you usually met with strong opposition. Never, never, never give up, which the people that have worked on these campaigns never have. They bring passion and purpose can go a long way, and a small group of people can truly make history, and you all did. Now, one of the last lessons that I've learned was that you can't thank people too often or too much. So I'd like to thank people, and I'm going to make you do some work because I'd like you, those of you, a lot of you are standing, but those of you that aren't, first I'd like both past and present, any city staff, management, employees, past or present, that have worked on the Natural Areas program. Can you please stand up so we can give you a little, nobody here? Come on, you're shy. And now I'd like any of the volunteers, not for the campaigns, but there is crossover, that volunteer in the Master Naturalist program, the Ranger program, anyone that's ever volunteered in any of the city or county open space programs to please stand up or wave your hands. Thank you. And now I'd like to go to the ballot measures, and then I get the hook and I'm out of here. In 1992, it was a small merry band. And so first, and please stay standing after you stand up, and I'm going to go through the ballot measures very quickly. But the core group, Carl Nyland, David Roy, John Gascoigne, it is a small core group. Could you please stand up? And anyone that worked on the 1992, raise your hand or stand up, please. Tom Shoemaker's in the back, worked for the city at the time as the manager, director of the program. Then in 1995 and 1999, the 2 county ballot measures were led by Kaylin Cameron and Linda Stanley, and I believe Kaylin is in Vietnam right now, but Linda, could you stand up, please? And then the rest of the steering committee, who, if you're on the steering committee or anyone worked in the county 1995 and 1999 ballot measures, wave your hand or stand up, please. They're all over here for some reason. And then in 2002, kind of a big one, 25 years, the full quarter of a cent. And my apologies if I missed the steering committee, but these are the names that I could kind of pull back, led by Linda Stanley and these folks. Randy and Kathy Fisher, please raise your hands and stand up. Michelle Grooms, Cordelia Stone, Glenn Colton, Trudy Haynes, Linda Knowlton, Nate Donovan, Phil Friedman, Ramona Harrell, Bill Miller, Mark Easter, Sally Craig and others. If I missed anyone, my apologies, but those are the ones that made the 2002 happen. And it was going against the grain. It wasn't pretty at times. It was kind of a ramshackle group, but we managed to pull it together. And the last lesson I'd like to leave with you before I ask to do one more toast is that I stole this one from Steve Jobs, and it's a lot more fun to be a pirate than to join the Navy. So one more toast, please, to the past, present, and future of Fort Collins and Larimer County open spaces and natural areas, and to all of you and all of those that have made it possible. My thanks.
This is completely unplanned, so I apologize to staff because I'm putting a little crink in their thing, but I did want to just say thank you to the staff like John Stokes and Mark Sears that have been in the program a long time and have taken that money. They got a big pot of money, and I think that they have spent, I'd love a big pot of money, but you guys have really spent that very well, and you've done a great job of putting together the natural areas fabric here in Larimer County, so thank you.